Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make dirty rice with cube steak and peppers. So what you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make this, and basically this is a one skillet meal. The good thing about it is it really doesn't cost that much to make, and this is packed with flavor. There's so much going on in here because we have the cans of French onion soup which are going into the cube steak and rice and beef broth and peppers and seasoning, and it all works together just to have this wonderful thing. That the best thing about this is not only is it packed with flavor, but you can actually stretch this for a whole family to eat because it's going to be a full skillet of food, because between the rice and the steak and everything else, you really have a lot going on. So if you can find a deal on cube steak, you're in business for this, because everything here is just an amazing thing to make, to eat, to have for dinner. And I was really skeptical about it the first time I made this because I wasn't really sure if I'd like the French onion soup mixed in with the other things in here. And it was just wonderful. And I used jasmine rice in this, which is always fluffy and has such a great taste to it. So it just really works to be a wonderful thing. So we're going to start off with 2 medium-sized pieces of cube steak. And these don't have to be really large because we're going to cut these up into bits and they're going to work their way throughout all of the rice that we're going to be cooking. So take them, cut them in strips going lengthwise through this. And then once we get it completely cut strip wise, then we're going to take those strips and cut them into little cubes. So that way they're going to be really just distributed through the whole meal, so you can just get them in every bit of rice or whatever you pick up out of your food. There's just going to be some steak bits here and there. And the good thing about it is you don't have to use a lot. It doesn't have to cost a lot for you to get that flavor into the rice. So as I said, cut it into strips, then turn it around and cut it into the cubes that we're going to use to put throughout this whole thing. And this is like probably one of the easiest things to make here with the cube steak and the rice and everything, because literally a lot of this you're just putting it all into the skillet and letting it cook step by step until you've got this all done. It's not like a lot of hard things to do. It's just pretty easy for something that turned out to be really impressive in the end. So it's just one of those things that if you're cooking for your family or if you just want to make something special for someone, this is actually a good option. So as you can see, I'm on my second piece of cube steak and I'm cutting it into little pieces now. And basically that's it with the cube steak. You just have to basically get cubes, get them done, get them ready to roll. And then the rest of this is basically adding it to the pan when it's necessary. So there's not really a lot of prep going on here. So get this cut up. And then the next step you're going to need is you're going to need either a pot or something to cook this in, or I used a Dutch oven. So you can use any way you want to use this to cook it. You can do it in a skillet, you can do whatever, because it's just all going to end up in the same place. So in this, we're going to add around maybe 3 tablespoons to 4 tablespoons of olive oil, or you can use whatever kind of oil you have on hand. Get this in, get this thing heating up to about medium-high heat, and then we're going to add in about 3/4 of a cup of pepper onion blend. And this is a mix of red pepper, green pepper, and onions. You can buy this in the frozen food section, or if you had onions and both kinds of peppers, you could cut them up. But you're going to basically need about 3/4 of a cup in this. So however you want to get to doing this, I just find that buying this at the store already cut up and frozen and ready to run is kind of better both in price and convenience, because I don't have to cut up all this stuff, but also it's a lot cheaper than buying peppers and onions and everything else in one run. It works. So we're going to cook these for about 4 to 5 minutes, because what we want to do is get them to a point to where, 1, they're not frozen anymore, but 2, they're starting to cook, so that way they're going to soften up. So we want to make sure that we actually move these around quite a bit. We don't want them sitting in there for too long not moving, because we don't want the bottoms to burn. So keep flipping them around as much as you can until you get to the 4 to 5 minute marker, and this is where we are. Mine was about 4.5 minutes or so. And then what we're going to do is add 1.5 tablespoons of minced garlic into this, and we're going to cook this up as well for about a minute. We don't want to cook this much longer than that, because the longer you let it do with garlic in it, you're going to actually have the run of possibly burning the garlic, and that's going to give it a really horrible taste. You don't want that in your food. So anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, you're safe. So go ahead and stir this up, cook it up till it's to that point, and then we're going to move on to the next step. So as this is simmering in our pan, we want to make sure that everything is kind of mixed together and distributed evenly. And then we're going to get ready to add our cube steak to this. Since our steak is already cut up, it's ready to come in and be cooked. Now, when you put the cube steak in, we're going to cook it with the vegetables, and we're going to keep turning this, moving and doing it. But you want to cook this until your cube steak has started to turn brown. It's like if you were making a hamburger and you know that the outside of it's pink when you start and you want to cook it till it's brown. Well, we're doing the same thing with the cube steak. So we're going to go ahead and cook this up and start it getting colored and actually get it to the point where it's going to be a good brown color and what we want it to be. This is going to take a few minutes to do. I'm probably thinking at least 6 minutes or so of cooking this through, and just keep stirring it up. You don't want it to sit too long before you actually keep going with stirring it or doing whatever, because we don't want it to stick to the bottom of the pan, but we also, again, do not want to sear this too much or make it burn. And in a moment, we're going to start adding seasoning to this. So we're going to start with 1 teaspoon of Kingsford Cajun seasoning. And then we're going to add into this a half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. And then we're going to go ahead and mix this up again. And we're going to cook this for at least 5 minutes to get this really cooked through and get that seasoning in there. Because, you know, our cube steak had already started cooking. That's good. 5 more minutes should take it about where it needs to be. So just keep stirring it, keep moving it around in the pan. And as this cooks, you're going to smell this quite a bit because the garlic and the peppers and everything, they have such a wonderful smell while they're cooking. And as you can see, this is what mine looked like when it got to the point where it really was doing a lot of cooking and it's ready to be added to. Now, if you have a lot of grease in your pan or whatever and you want to get rid of it, you can always do that paper towel method to soak it up and get rid of it. If there's just a little in there, you can go ahead and go with that. It's fine. It's just one of those things where you need to just make sure you don't have too much. So now we're going to add 1 cup of the jasmine rice to this and go ahead and just distribute it around as much as you can. And then we're going to add 2 cans of the French onion soup mix in here. These cans are just the typical ones you can get just off the store shelf, but you have the 2 cans of it. It just says French onion on the outside of it, so you're good to go with that. And pour that in, and then we are going to add 1.5 cups of beef broth to this mix as well, because we need liquid in here. Whilst the rice cooks, it's going to absorb it. So 1.5 cups of beef broth will help that out, plus the liquid that was already in the French onion soup. Now, what we're going to do is leave this in here. We're going to stir it occasionally, and we're going to let this cook for at least an hour to maybe an hour and 15 minutes, because the whole thing you're trying to do is get this liquid absorbed into the rice and make this cook up to a point where it's kind of like a casserole. You're not really having a lot of liquid. It's going to cook and absorb, and as you get to the hour marker to hour 15, it might still look a little wet. But the point being is it will absorb some more as it's cooling. So this is about halfway through on mine, and it's already starting to pull some of the liquid in. So this was like about a half an hour marker. So we're going to let this go again, and we're going to come back after an hour. And then you'll see that most of the liquid in this has been absorbed, because when you get to this point, see, it's really pulling it in. Now, one good thing about this is as it's cooling, a lot of this liquid is going to absorb, and it's going to actually just become more solid and less liquidy as you're letting it sit. So as I said, I would go for at least an hour and 15 minutes and check it along the way to see what it looks like and how much the moisture has gone out of this, because you don't want a lot of liquid, but you do want it kind of wet in a way that it's holding everything together. So keep going, keep stirring, and in the end, when you get to something that looks a lot like this, you're in business, because as this cools, it's going to set up, and that's going to be really wonderful. And the best thing is you've got all these wonderful things in here that are mingling to give this flavor, from the French onion to the peppers to, you know, everything in here, the beef. And when it's done, it looks something like this. And this is an amazing meal. It has such a great taste, and everything was made in one pot, which is really great. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out the cookbooks available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and if you'd like to, you could order a cookbook at a discounted price, cheaper than Amazon, with shipping that is also cheaper than Amazon. So if you get a chance, check it out, and I hope you have a great day.